Hey, Frog Prince Rana here, and thank you for dropping by. A short summary of this video would be, I should have left when I had the chance, but I'm jumping ahead. Let's start at the beginning. Once we had an empire, the empire on which the sun never sets. Root to that statement can be traced all the way back to the Old Testament, where in Psalm 72:8 speaks of the Messianic king. He shall have dominion also from sea to sea, and from the river unto the ends of the earth, for as long as the sun and moon endure throughout all generations. Believe it or not, empires rise and empires fall, but not in the minds of blue-blooded, real British people, fondly referred to as Gammons. Now, regardless how much I like to believe that I'm British, I can never be a true British just because I don't have the belief needed. Simply put, I need to think, no, that we are better than everyone else. We're bloody British, goddammit. We're special. Simply big elephants can always understand small elephants. That's all. We are smarter. And that's not a hyperbole. I can give you actual proof. Take the language, for instance. We invented the language. Now, don't tell me that English is an West Germanic language that originated from Anglo-Frisian dialects brought to Britain in the mid-5th and 7th century AD by Anglo-Saxon migrants from what now Northwest Germany, Southern Denmark, and the Netherlands. Who has time for that? What important is, we invented it, and we know how to manipulate, use the language. All those dirty, dark-skinned people and those Caucasians from poorer European countries, they come over to our country, refuse to assimilate to our culture, refuse to learn the language, and segregates into their own little community. They are what causes all the job loss to all the blue-blooded Gammons. Those peoples are immigrants. But as we are special, when we move to another country, maybe to get some sun to look brown, or maybe to evade tax, that is a different matter altogether. Why should we learn their language? We are doing them a favor by living in their country. Without us, their economy is bound to fall. We are bringing our glorious language and culture to them. They should all be honored. We live in our own community in such countries as united we stand. Hell, that's even in our state name. We also need our fish and chips, so that's all okay. We're not immigrants, we are expats.
What is the difference in the definition between an expat and a foreigner?
Well, first of all, expats are British. A foreigner is probably someone living from another country living in Britain. They become foreigners. The British are never foreigners wherever they go. Here, there are British people who have lived here 15, 20 years and cannot leave the coast because once they go off the coast, they can't use English and they can't speak Spanish, so they are confined to the coast.
Some smartass at this point would point out that one needs to take a test that covers English language, culture, and even some old history that even most real British do not know, just to apply for citizenship. But facts mean nothing to us. Remember that we are special. Back in 2016, we had a referendum, or the Brexit referendum. It was a close call where the Leave response won out with 51.89%. Personally, I can't think of any other voting result that was this close. Some would say that it was the older generation that voted to leave and screw the future for everyone else. Yes, there were many false promises and rhetoric. One of the hard-hitting one was our version of Donald Trump called Boris Johnson, who famously toured the country in a bus, those which stated on the side that the UK sent the EU 350 million a week and suggested spending the money on the NHS instead. Those who pointed out all the lies were deemed non-patriotic, doom-monger and naysayers. One can make an hour-long video just on those lies and dismantling it. But today, I want to focus on the people and their motivation for voting to leave. We will hear words like sovereignty. Don't ask me what that means, as I didn't vote to leave. I would say the leavers basically fits in groups like ignorant, self-serving, racist, and plain old greed. First, let's look at a man who belongs to the self-serving group. Joe from Nottingham and his wife spend half or more of the year in Spain. He now regrets having voted to leave in the Brexit referendum, saying, "I voted for Brexit now. It is harming me and my wife." That is basically what it all comes down to for this gentleman. He didn't care about others and now only sorry because it is hurting him. Let's take a look at this sorry excuse of a man.
My name is Joe from Nottingham. Over the years, I have my own business, etc. Retired 65 as normal. As a lot of people, we're on a caravan site. There must be 650 caravans on our site alone. Beautiful place to be, beautiful place to relax in. We're generally here mainly in the winter because of my health, as many others here are here for their health at our ages. In saying that, we like summer, we come here, we stay, in the summertime. Brexit itself, when it first started, it was going to be brilliant because I honestly believed that Britain should stay Britain and we run by ourselves. Although I went home to vote to come out, and now would change my mind of what's happened. Nobody told us, nobody explained.
Now, that is not true at all, is it? You called it Project Fear when we tried to explain it to you. Just as anti-vaxxers, you had refused to understand the consequence of your action, not only for yourself, but for others around you.
Or probably thought about people like yourselves caravanning around Europe. There must be 500,000 people doing that. There's nobody looking after us or telling us. They forgot about the people abroad. I would say 50% of where I live are having to stay for 30 days, then have to go home. Half of them haven't got nowhere to go. They've sold the house, they haven't even got family back home to stay with family.
Well, you voted for it, right? You thought it would not affect you, and that is where you had stopped caring.
This 90-day thing is just tripping everybody. Instead of making it 180 and 90, as what everybody would agree with and think it would be brilliant to do, there's people panicking on selling their properties purely because they're going to be away from their properties for 90 days. There's so many rumours going around we don't know. But at the same time, I would love to see a future where we've got 180 days.
This is the third stage of grief, bargaining. Even at this point, Joe is all about himself.
If I thought where I know what I know now, when I think the same thing now, there's no way would I have voted the way I did. Because it's harming me and my future of what I want to do with what time we have left with me and my wife together in this sort of surrounding.
Me, and me. It might sound like I'm giving him a hard time, but honestly, what did he expect? He voted to leave EU, which means giving up our rights to free movement and the right to live, work and reside in any EU countries. As Oscar Wilde famously said, there are only two tragedies in life. One is not getting what one wants, and the other is getting it. Has never been truer. Moving away from the true Gammon mentality that is all about me, we now look at pure greed. Here we have Maxine Salt, company director of C&M Global at Bednall, near Stafford. She had voted to leave and now wonders if she had been weirdly transported to another planet where exporting goods to Europe has been banned. I was wondering why on earth did I vote for Brexit, she said. She explained that other businesses she was speaking to were also having difficulties. One company we know in Willenhall has only been able to send out one of the scheduled 6 trucks out to Europe so far since the start of the year, she said. Exports are 90% of our business, but Brexit, it has made it a lot worse. We have a couple of warehouses full of stock of second-hand clothing ready to go, but the paperwork is proving onerous. Even when we get our goods out, we don't know at the other end. We don't know whether our customers are still going to be there. It is not straightforward at all. The process of exporting has become a complete sham, nigh on impossible even. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a novice at this. I've been exporting all over the world all my working life, around 38 years, said Mrs. Salt, who for over 30 years ran BCR Global Textile in West Bromwich, employing 120 staff. She admits to having voted leave because she was sick of employment and health and safety rules originating from Brussels. In my opinion, that is the crux of the matter. She didn't want to be bogged down with workers' right. She thought she could screw over her workers once Brexit was done. There would be no checks and balances, and she could treat them as, well, for a lack of better word, let's just say slaves. For some dumb and dumber,
I come from a generational farming family. We've been 4th generation. I am, so farming for over 100 years on the same farm. Brexit happened a couple of years ago and I voted to leave. I think a lot of the young farming generation did because I voted for change and I want to see some difference. And I'm hoping that the change will enable me to grow my business and become a bigger farm. At the moment, this first trade deal with Australia looks, doesn't look the best for us. It's not quite the panacea I was hoping it was going to be.
and of course, Gammons have to be Gammons.
I personally think it's a good thing because I think eventually everybody will start moving around more. I think France, Spain, they even may come out as well because I think there's a lot of money that's being wasted in different areas where it shouldn't be, and I think maybe everybody's going to learn from Britain. We've done it first, and I think from there on, I think it'll be everybody maybe joining in.
Because we always know best. And when money is spent on things that does not benefit us personally, is a waste. I do hope reporters at this point would ask the person to name such an area to see what the response is. Finally, we have people like this. Now, what is the statement? Don't judge a book by its cover. Then again, a title like Mein Kampf does allow us some judgment. That being said,
how did you vote?
I voted to leave.
What about you?
Leave.
How come?
Our borders are our borders at the end of the day. You can't just keep piling people into our country and then paying for them, or people who shouldn't be in this country we want to extradite because they shouldn't be here, like murderers, rapists, whatever. Our rules should say, pick him up, send him back.
It's surprising to hear that because Clacton-on-Sea, according to the statistics, actually has one of the least amount of immigrants in the United Kingdom. It's 90% white as far as I've seen.
And there are pockets around, but you go to London, you see something completely different. You're getting the Greek cafes, you're getting the Indian cafes, the Chinese are opening everywhere, but you're not getting the white, the English cafe anymore. Go to schools now, they're teaching so many languages. Why? This is the UK. You don't mind French, the standard basic curriculum. If they want to teach Indian, then they go to their own schools for that. But this is the UK, and it's not being racist at all. It's common sense at the end of the day.
well, if you didn't get the message, I was and am vehemently against leaving EU. Not only it has messed up our current generation, but also screwed up the future for generations to come. Even being optimistic and hoping that one day we might be able to rejoin. part of me wonders, why would EU take us back with all the shits that we have been pulling for years? The empire is no more. Understand that. We're all human. What we do is what defines us, not the color of our skin, and definitely not the country we are born in. I have absolutely no sympathy when these people have stolen the rights and opportunities from everyone who wanted to remain. Well, that's all for this video. If you've enjoyed it, please do like, comment and share. It does help with the algorithm. If you want to be super awesome, please consider subscribing to keep up with my new contents. In case you hated it, let me know why. Is it because other people are stealing your job? Or you just hate people who doesn't have the same skin color and dialect? For the rest, thank you so much for watching. Wherever you are, have a safe day. Signing off.